Hi guys, it's Jessica. Welcome to my channel. How is everyone? I hope everyone is doing okay, or at least okay enough. Well, I didn't plan the video I'm making today in like a super structured way. I just wanted to talk with you guys a bit, have a little chit chat, because I caught myself thinking about something the other day. Well, I've been catching myself doing this for a while now and I just thought I wanted to talk about it with you guys. But I find myself sometimes when I'm just like sitting, when there's nothing really going on, where you're just sort of existing, I've noticed a pattern that my mind just starts doing what it's best at. Bringing up thoughts, memories, or intrusive thoughts that I really didn't ask for. You know, like old thoughts, worries, the future, the past, random doubts. And I started to realize how often this was happening to me. And how quickly your thoughts can change the way you feel. You can be feeling fine and suddenly you're having the crisis of your life because you started listening to the thoughts in your mind. By the way, if you haven't already, grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee or your favorite drink, have it with me. This is our time, our moment to just chit chat. So yes, I've noticed how often this is happening and how often, you know, your mind can change the way you feel, even when like nothing around you has changed, but it can just change the mood entirely. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Not like a really structured video like this is how you fix your negative thinking, just like how to deal with that negative thinking when it just suddenly shows up, and without letting it take over. Because for the longest time I thought that the goal here was to stop those thoughts completely, like only positive thoughts, and just block those negative thoughts or those intrusive thoughts or doubting thoughts, all those things, like they don't exist in my mind. Like if I worked on myself enough, like maybe one day my mind would just be quiet all the time. But I don't know about you, but that doesn't work for me. I know everyone has different brains and different things, but my type of brain just doesn't work like that. So what actually happened for me was realizing that most thoughts are just automatic. They just appear and you don't get to choose them. That's what I have to accept. You don't get to choose those thoughts. They just suddenly randomly appear. And what I'm starting to work on and telling myself is that the first thought that just suddenly pops into your head isn't a reflection of who you really are. It's just your brain doing its thing. And once I understood that, once I was thinking about it, I stopped taking my thoughts so personally. Like, oh, if I think this, then it must be this. Oh, hello there. And now what I'm trying to do is, the moment like a negative thought comes into my mind, what I used to do and what I'm not doing anymore is like rushing to fix it or argue it, like, no, this isn't like this, or I have to do this so I don't feel like this, or I don't get these thoughts. I've stopped having a battle with it, and I just kind of notice it, like, oh, okay, that's a thought. Suddenly, I don't know, it appeared in my head. Someone likes the camera, hello. And that like tiny pause, like just noticing it, I find that it changes a lot, because instead of like believing that thought and going deep into that thought, you get like that pause, that second to decide, okay, what am I going to do with this thought that has no sense? Am I going to go deep in it, or am I just going to just let it be? And the truth is that most or a lot of the thoughts that we struggle with aren't even true. They're just familiar. It's what you're used to, like taking notice to. It's things that we've repeated in our heads so many times that they start to feel real. But just because we've repeated them so much doesn't mean that they are real. This cat just loves affection. And those thoughts, I've noticed that they especially appear when we're tired, when we're overwhelmed, or even when we're just feeling a bit low. You know, some of those days maybe you haven't slept well or something like that, and that's when those thoughts really creep up on you. And I think this is something important to say, because sometimes this negative thinking isn't something like a deep issue that you have to solve. Sometimes it just may be a sign that maybe you need rest, you need to rest a bit, or you need a break. You're choking me. Or maybe you just need to work on being more kind to yourself. And I know that That's been maybe my struggle. Well, I think everything I think I've been tired. I needed a break, and I've been too tough on myself. Because I used to think that if a thought felt like strong, it meant that it was important, or even that I had to figure it out right away, like, oh, this seems like a really important issue I have to work with, or something I have to fix it. But most of the time you just have to come with terms that it's just noise. It's just noise in your head. And also old pattern. This is your brain like protecting you in a way that is not very helpful, but it's what it's used to. So it's its way to just help you. So now I'm starting to ask myself like simple questions, nothing intense. Just things like, would I say this to someone I really care about? That's the number one thing I normally do. Like, or also think of like mini Jessica when I was little, like would I say this about mini me? No, I wouldn't. So why am I doing it to myself now? Or believe it at least. And then also I think like, is this also a fact, or is it just a feeling? And is this thought actually helping me right now, or is it breaking me or making me feel even worse? And lots of the time the answer is no. The answer is no. And when that happens, normally I would try to replace it with something positive, but now I don't. And I don't force affirmations if they don't feel real, or if in that moment I'm not feeling like that. I just soften it a little bit. Instead of I'm failing, I'm like, I try to replace it with I'm learning. It takes time. Harry, yeah. Or instead of maybe like, oh, this is never going to work, I'm going to fail, blah, blah, blah. I try to tell myself, well, I still don't know how this is going to turn out yet, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be bad. Why do we always assume that something is going to turn bad? We don't know yet, so just give it the benefit of the doubt. And I feel that those thoughts are more honest and realistic. And because they're honest, they stick a bit more. And also something that really helped me is to remember that thoughts aren't predictions. Because just because your mind imagines something going terribly wrong doesn't mean that it's like an intuition or a warning, or that it's going to happen. It's just your brain filling in the gaps with what it's used to, what you usually feed it. And you don't have to follow every thought to the end. You can let it pass. You can say, yes, maybe this can happen, it's an option, but maybe not. And just move on. Don't feed that thought anymore. And I think the biggest shift for me right now is remembering and understanding that I am not my thoughts. Harry, ¿en serio te tienes que poner aquí? I am the one who is noticing them. And even on days when my mind can seem very loud or overwhelming, there is that part of me that is observing. So if negative thinking has been taking up space lately for you, like it has for me, it's important that you don't see this as going backwards. And it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It just means you're human, and maybe something in you needs a little patience right now, doesn't it? And that is okay. So yes, that's kind of my little rant for today. I just wanted to put this out there in case, I don't know, in case someone watching here has a mind that maybe sometimes can get a little heavy like mine. And just know that you're not doing anything wrong, and you're definitely not alone in that. And I also feel that speaking about it helps. So if you have friends, family, the internet, someone that who can relate, myself, I include myself, I am open. On my Instagram, on my TikTok, you can send me a DM, we can talk about it, I don't mind. So if this video made you feel a little bit less alone, a little bit better, I'm really glad. That is all I wanted. And that was kind of the whole point of this little rant. So thank you for being here, thank you for listening, and for giving yourself these few minutes. Take care of yourself, and I will see you very, very soon. Say bye. Bye.